They tried getting me to be like the only buyer in the state, something I refused. And then they went and turned a fire on my warehouse, on my hay barn. Then on the second day, somebody went and put a pistol to my night guy, and then poured gasoline all over the hay barn and tracked agricultural tractors, the farm machinery that we use, turned it up in fire that night.
The opinions of the guests and host are their own and do not represent the opinions of Ironclad, the Border Patrol, or the Department of Homeland Security.
Welcome to Borderland Narcosis, an Ironclad original presented by Phorm Supplements. Go to firstphorm.com/Borderland to get your supplements today. My next guest is Manuel Núñez, who is the owner and founder of Palente Mexico, which is a cattle exporter company. He reached out to me to tell a story that's happening about extortion that's happening in the cattle industry in Mexico. He doesn't know exactly which cartel, if it is a cartel, who's involved in it, but he tells us his story, and it is fascinating and something that we all should know about. Here it is. Thank you, Mr. Núñez, for joining us on today's show. For the audience, I want you to know that this is a subject that I'm not very familiar with, but I received some anonymous tips about the subject, and we were able to get a hold of Mr. Núñez to give us more insight what's happening in the cattle industry in Mexico, and something that's happening all across Mexico as well. And so here we go into this interview. Mr. Núñez, sir, if you don't mind, for the audience, can you give a brief background of who you are and your expertise in the cattle industry?
Sounds great. How are you, Vince? My name is Manuel Núñez. I've been in the cattle business since December 3rd, 1987. For a long time, I started working as a U.S. customs broker for a very intelligent man, Pete Araujo, way back in 1987. And I moved on from there to buying livestock in late 90s. And I'm a dual citizenship, so I buy livestock in Mexico as well. I buy livestock here at the border from people who bring cattle from Mexico to export to the U.S. I also buy cattle down there in Mexico from producers directly. We've done this in different states in Mexico back since 2000. We've done it in the state of Chihuahua, Durango, Zacatecas, Tamaulipas, Nuevo León, Veracruz, just to name a few. We've been working down there. We know our way around. We know how to work all the paperwork in Mexico and how to do it correctly. So we've been doing this for a long time. 3 years ago in Zacatecas, in the state of Zacatecas, somebody called us and told us, from now on, you will not be able to buy livestock unless you pay us $20 per head. You deduct the $20 per head from the producer and give it to us once a week. And they had knowledge as to exactly how much cattle every purchaser was buying. There's a real good traceability system in Mexico. Every ranch, every cow-calf ranch is registered with their own identification number. And every person who purchases livestock is also registered with their own identification number. In every different state, it's a different one. So the bad guys or the people trying to collect money were able to hack or get into that system, and they knew ahead of time how much cattle you were actually buying. And their advice to us was, do not buy the cattle for $1,000 minus $20 fee. Just price it accordingly so that it'll come up to $980. That way you can deduct the $20 from the producer and give it to us, the bad guys. They don't call themselves the bad guys, though.
Well, let me ask you a question right there. So when they called, they didn't introduce themselves, whoever these individuals were. They didn't introduce themselves. They just said, this is what you're going to do.
They do introduce themselves. They either gives you a false name or they give you a nickname. They do introduce themselves, and they can claim they work for A, B, or C, D, E, F. It's not something that you can tell for sure. However, you can tell for sure that they are serious when your customer, your producer, goes to an office to do a certificate of travel, a guia, a certificate to travel from his ranch to your corrals, and where they tell him you're not allowed to document cattle to that person because that person, they don't explain the whole situation. But if you're not part of the group, you're not allowed, the cow calf producer is not allowed to document his calves to you, the purchaser, because you're not one of the guys who's going to collect the fee and give it to them.
So since they're not cooperating, they're not going to be allowed to even sell their product to you.
You're not allowed to buy it from them.
When you got that first call, you said 3 years ago this started. Did you cooperate, and were you paying them? And if you were paying
Yes.
them, how did you make payment?
3 years ago, some of my employees did it. They were doing this. When I find this out, I go to Mexico City. Well, okay, your question was how were they making payment? They were getting a check from our company and given for $1,000, but they were cashing it and only giving $980 to the producer and $20 to the other person. And that other person was picking up their money once every week. And that other person knew how much cattle my employee had purchased. When I find this out, I go to Mexico City and I speak directly to law enforcement in Mexico City and I tell them exactly what's going on. Mexico City asks me to continue doing it and to feed them information, to give Mexico City the license plates. And sometimes they were not giving them cash. Sometimes they were even depositing money to them. We would give Mexican authorities the license plate of the people coming to pick up the money, plus the accounts that the money was being sent to. This went on for about 6 months, 7. Nothing ever happened. One day, the bad guy simply said, "You're no longer going to be able to receive cattle." And we had some rough goings in the state of Zacatecas. We had cattle already in our grow yard, but we couldn't sell it. We couldn't document it. We needed help from Mexico City to document it and help from Mexico City to document it in order to sell it. Because locally in Zacatecas, nobody would document it for us. So it's obvious that whoever they were doing this had good control over state and agencies.
So you guys decided that you were not going to continue to pay them. Is that correct?
After about 7 months that we've been reporting directly to the authorities every month or every week, and nothing happened, the bad guys decided we were no longer part of the purchasers.
Do you have an idea who these bad guys are, who they're associated with?
No. We assume all kinds of assumptions. We assume some kind of an criminal organization. We assume everything, but when they call you or when they approach you, they don't have a business card and they don't have a shirt with their logo that says, "I belong to this criminal organization." So assumptions is all that we can come up with, and it's irresponsible to just have assumptions. However, we did try helping the Mexican authorities by giving them as much information as possible. When nothing happened, either they got wind that we were talking to the authorities. No, they did not get wind because they decided to stop. They decided that my company was no longer going to be purchasing livestock in that state, in Zacatecas, and they wouldn't let me document my cattle to get it out. So they did contacted me through an employee more than once, maybe 3 times, and through an employee of mine, they tried getting me to be like the only buyer in the state. Something I refused. And then they went and turned a fire on my uh, warehouse on my hay barn. They turned fire on my hay barn, and then on the second day, somebody went and put a pistol to my night guy, and then poured gasoline all over the hay barn and agricultural tractors, the farm machinery that we use, turned it up in fire that night. So that was the last time my company was purchasing cattle in the state of Zacatecas. We quit buying cattle in Zacatecas. It was obviously too dangerous for us to do so. So we left the
Wow.
state. We left the state, even though we were buying in other states already. We've been buying in several states for now. So that was our Zacatecas experience. Our Zacatecas experience was, we know what's going on. We told the authorities about it. We continued to tell the authorities for months, and nothing happened. So when they turned fire on our farm and we left the state of Zacatecas, we no longer purchase cattle there. Well, we work in other states. We work in the state of Durango. We come back to the story today. We get to the state of Durango, and in the state of Durango, we buy livestock in 10 different counties. We hear rumors that in other counties where we are not buying livestock, that things similar to the Zacatecas things are going on. And we hear rumors, but we cannot attest to them. However, at the beginning of September, at 2 counties where we do work, we have an employee there that's got a little set of pens, and all he does is stand by the pens all day long for cow-calf producers to bring calves to him. He was approached, both of our employees, within about 4 days difference, both of our employees were approached in they're working in different counties. They were approached by somebody, Jesus Felix Damueño. Jesus Felix. He approached our employees and told them, from now on, you can continue to buy cattle, but you will buy them for 60 cents now. And I'm just translating numbers, but it's not accurate. It's 60 pesos per kilo, but you just for the easy conversation in an American show. My employees were told, you can buy them for 60 cents and sell them to us for 65. We will be the only purchaser allowed. So it's not like you're gonna lose your livelihood, because before you were buying them for somebody and making a little commission. I'm giving you a chance to make more commission. You're gonna buy them for 60 cents. We're gonna sell them to us for 65. And both of my employees told the person, this is not my establishment. This set of pens are not mine. They belong to a company. So we cannot do it this way. Those same persons, we're talking 4 different counties there that they tried this on. And on those 4 counties, there's approximately 35 different people who buy cattle for a living, who are registered with the Mexican state government and have got a number. And they buy livestock from all kinds of different cow-calf producers. They went and talked to all 35 of them. And they included all 35 in a WhatsApp group. And they communicated with them and told them, this is what you got to do. This is the way it's going to happen. A lot of people contacted our company, myself. We are an important part of the cattle economy down there. We buy a fair share of cattle. There has been a few years back since 2000 till now that our company has been the number one exporter to the U.S. So we do handle volume. Therefore, customers started calling us. Some of the other 35 that were affected started calling us and saying, "Hey, has this happened to you?" That was back at the beginning of September. 9th day of September, I have breakfast with the state employee for the cattle industry. The state employee for the cattle industry, Jesus Lopez. I'm not sure whether he'd be the agriculture commissioner or the agriculture secretary for the state, but he's the head honcho for the state in cattle and agricultural products. I have breakfast with him and I tell him what's going on in the state of Durango. And I know he's the agricultural person. He's not the police. So I ask him for him to get me in contact with the head of police in the state of, or the secretary to the governor in the state of Durango. That happened on the 9th of September. I started messaging him after that on WhatsApp and said, "Good morning," or "Good afternoon." And then I would ask, have we had any luck with getting me in contact with the state government, the secretary to the state? There was 20 different messages and they were all ignored. No reply whatsoever. So on the 13th of October, I've decided to make this public since I could not get a response directly from the authority. And I wrote an article in a large newspaper in Mexico, in the country. The newspaper's name is Reforma. So I wrote an article to the public. I paid for the publishing of that article. And in the article, I wrote down everything that was happening. That was on the 13th of October. On the 16th of October, the state governor made an announcement, somebody asked him something about it on a press conference, and he said, "That's not going to happen in Durango. We're not going to allow it." It continued to happen, and I continued to document it. And then I started making some interviews. On the 14th, I got an interview on a local newspaper from the state of Durango. It was on Facebook. When I finished with the interview, I received a phone call from a Durango area code. I answered it assuming it would probably be some authority because we were complaining that we weren't being listened to.
Right.
It was not. It was Jesus Felix Madueño. And he was the person who was going to be the only person buying of those 4 counties. And he couldn't figure out why I was making such a big deal out of it. We recorded. It happened while I was still there at the studio. So the newspaper studio recorded our conversation. That conversation, he could not understand why I was the only one not agreeing to what had been arranged. I asked him who arranged it. And he told me, I arranged it. He said, everybody's going to buy cattle at the same price, sell it to me, and if you like to buy cattle at an expensive price, because that's what you're known for, I will sell it to you. So he was asking that his way of thinking was, let all the buyers purchase from the farmers, from the cow-calf operation, for 60 cents on the dollar, sell it to me for 65, and then if you like to buy cattle at the correct price, I'll sell it to you for $1 on the dollar. That was his proposal. I told him I didn't understand it. I told him, listen, if I can sell a steer for $1, I must buy it for 95 cents. So if you want me, I can buy steers for 95, sell them to you for $1, and you want to sell them back for 95 cents. I don't think that's something you want to do, but we can do that. The conversation went on to him telling me it was not right, and he didn't agree of me making all the fuss that I was making. He asked if I was in Durango because he wanted to talk to me personally. I said, yes, we can meet at the state police office. He repeated, are you in Durango? I said, yes, I can meet with you at the state police office. But I told him, but listen, Jesus, even if we do meet, I am not going to agree with you.
This episode is brought to you by Phorm, a company that I've been proud to work with for over 11 years. I don't say this lightly. These guys aren't just about supplements. They're about building a community, holding you accountable, and helping people actually change their lives. Their products are top-notch, third-party tested, and designed to help you perform harder, recover faster, and feel your best. And if you haven't tried their protein sticks, well, you're missing out. They're great, packed with protein, convenient, and ridiculously good. Right now, they have an exclusive deal for Borderland listeners. Buy any Phorm product and you'll get a free 5-pack of protein sticks with your order. Head to firstform.com/Borderland to claim your free pack while supplies last. Again, that's firstform.com/Borderland. Purchase any product and get a free 5-pack of protein sticks. Trust me, they're worth it. Out here on Borderland, we talk a lot about cartels and traffickers, but some threats hit closer to home. Take the CJ&G timeshare scam we covered. People get scammed out of thousands. Their personal info stolen and sold online. Your name, your address, phone numbers, even your family's info can end up in the wrong hands, putting you at risk for identity theft, scams, or worse. I value having control over my personal data, and that is why I've teamed up with DeleteMe. Like the experts we've talked to on Borderland who go after bad actors, DeleteMe works to remove your personal info from hundreds of people search and data broker sites. They do it continuously, securely, and without outsourcing. Real privacy advisors are available if you need help. For over 15 years, DeleteMe has been leading the fight to protect personally identifiable information for individuals and businesses' employees. They verify your info is accurate on these sites before removing it, cutting down unnecessary exposure. It's very simple. Just create an account, fill in your basic information on the dashboard, and DeleteMe takes care of the rest. You'll receive a report about what was removed in about a week. So take control of your personal info. Go to joindeleteme.com/Ironclad and use coupon code Ironclad or scan the QR code to get started. One of the few services that actually keep your information out of the wrong hands. I don't know the cattle industry very well. So you're telling me this is not normal practice for what you've done for the 20 years you've been doing this, 30 years you've been doing this. This is not normal practice, correct?
That is correct.
Seems to be right. So this seems to be, from what I'm picking up, some kind of organization has now kind of made their way into the cattle industry and are taxing the cattle industry so that they benefit by making more money. This is common practice of extortion, correct?
That is correct.
And you have not been able to identify exactly which organization is extorting the cattle industry, but it seems to be across a lot of different states in Mexico. Would you assume it's the same organization or different factions? Again, different maybe potential cartels or whatnot are all doing the same thing in the cattle industry, or do you think it's one organization doing it to the whole cattle industry?
There's probably different ones in the country because things have been going on. Now that I've gotten into this subject, I have found a lot more information because I did several interviews, more than one in Mexico, And it got to a point where in one interview, people are afraid, and for the right reason. People are afraid to tell the government, hey, this is happening in my county or in my town. They live in that town, and the bad guys who will visit them also live in the same town. So people are afraid. And then a lot of people starting putting comments on Facebook and sending me price lists, telling me this is the price that the bad guys are buying cattle in my county for, and this is the price in my other county. However, the bad guys were also looking at our Facebook page, and they were getting a hold of the cattleman and tell them to keep quiet. Why were they giving out information?
Man,
I went and purchased a telephone number, an easy telephone number, 618-111-0000. I went and purchased an easy telephone number. 618 is the Durango area code, and then the phone number is 111-0000. And on an interview I gave like this, I gave that phone number out and made it public and told people, listen, don't expose yourself by giving me information on WhatsApp, on Facebook. Give it to me on this phone number. I'm going to keep this phone number here in the USA anyway. They're not going to work. And I am going to give the information that I get to different authorities. Since I started this, October the 13th, I have spoken to a lot of good authorities in Mexico who are wanting to help. It's difficult for them to get information because people are afraid to give it.
Yeah.
But there is a special command center in Torreon, Coahuila for the whole state of Durango. They are very good. Special command center. There is a general in charge of the Guardia Nacional, which is like the state police in Durango. He is very pro trying to help. There's a soldier outpost in Durango. There's a person in charge of that is definitely trying to help. There's at least 5 different persons from the Federal Security Agency where Omar Garcia Harfush is the leader. And at least 4 or 5 different people from that agency have contacted me. There is a lot of good law enforcement agencies trying to help. Most of us do not give them information because we are afraid. So I put that phone number out, and I started getting a lot of good information. People telling me what county, what little town, what the name of the person who was buying cattle for 50 cents on the dollar was. And a lot of people started giving me information. Some of them would nervously write that I please not keep them confidential. We've kept everybody confidential. The ones that have given us their name and number and the ones who didn't give us a name. I mean, we just tell the authorities, hey, in this other county, this is happening at this location.
Oh, when I ask a question real quick, that's on my mind. And I love that you have this hotline, if you will, for people to give you information. And I know that you guys are nervous about the information. Has anyone on record been killed because of this subject? Have you identified anyone who has been killed by the bad guys, you call it? And just for the audience, I just looked it up. Durango is ran by the Sinaloa cartel and not connecting the two, just saying that makes me curious to see if their involvement, but that's not part of this interview either way. But has there been anyone who has lost their lives because they're defying these characters, these people, these criminal organizations who are extorting them? Has there been anyone yet on record?
No, not in Durango. In Durango, I have been the only person doing this publicly. Everybody else has fed information to me and I have forwarded. In Zacatecas, yes, quite a few people have lost their lives, including government.
Are you scared for your life?
Well, I do. Yes, I am scared for my life. I do take extra precautions. It is a pain to have to look both sides in the mirrors and to have somebody following you to make sure nobody else is following you. I mean, it's just not easy. But I got an advantage. I'm a U.S. citizen. I live in the USA. I only go down there. Used to go down there quite a bit. Now I have to go down there a lot less. Definitely scared for my life, scared for the well being of my employees. But we have not, in the state of Durango, we have not been physically threatened with the exception of a video that I will also send to you.
Please.
The bad guys went to my corrals, to my pens that are on the highway, and they parked right in my front gate. And two of them got off a vehicle with long rifles. I don't know what they are. I mean, I cannot say it's a 22 rifle or a machine, and I do not know the difference. But they got off with long rifles, and one of them stood guard while the other one went and spoke to the other pickup. And they parked right in front of right on my gate. If somebody wanted to come in or out, they couldn't have. And they did this for 10 minutes or something, or 5 maybe. Can somebody say that's a threat or an intimidation attempt or a coincidence that the bad guys happened to pull over right on the side of my road? I do not know.
Yeah. So let me, I mean, for the audience probably doesn't know, those kind of weapons are not allowed in Mexico unless they are law enforcement or military, correct?
You're correct. Nothing above a 38 or 380 is allowed in Mexico. And even to obtain a 380 or a 38, you got to have a special permit. So definitely, no. This was not law enforcement agencies, and is not law obeying citizens.
Yeah.
If they were law obeying, they wouldn't have those weapons with them. They wouldn't get off their truck and show them in public like nothing.
I want to thank our partners over at Ammo Squared. They've built what they call America's Ammunition Reserve, basically an ammo savings account. You sign up, pick from more than 70 calibers, set your auto buy budget, and either choose a shipping schedule or just let your reserve grow. Over time, your ammo stacks up and is stored for free in a climate-controlled facility in Texas or Idaho until you're ready to ship. No minimums, no extra fees. It works whether you got a small budget or just don't want to drop a few grand at once. Thank you so much, Ammo Square, for providing such a cool service and supporting the show.
They were ghosts. Who are these guys?
I've never heard this before.
Right behind me, we have armed police. They're ready for sort of riot patrol.
I'm Sean Ryan, and I'm hosting the new Ironclad original, Target Intelligence PSYOP.
We're not framing history correctly.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
It's an Ironclad original.
An Ironclad original.
An Ironclad original.
Ironclad original.
An Ironclad original.
An Ironclad original. How much has this affected the cattle industry? Let's just say your company, right? You're the founder of Palente Mexico, right? That's the cattle exporter company. How much has this affected your organization, your company? And has this helped other companies kind of surpass yours in sales? As you said earlier, you were one of the biggest exporters of cattle into America. How much has this been a hindrance?
This has been going on for only October and November, and this is the busy season. This wrong way of buying livestock has not been going on for a long time, and it's not in 100% of the state. As far as I can tell so far, it's 19 counties. So I've been purchasing cattle from all different other counties. It has affected me in the 2 counties where my 2 employees have been unable to properly work. We think we might have this result as of 2 days ago. We're very optimistic that it is. We did a lot of interviews. We went to Congress in Mexico City. We spoke to different congressmen about this, about the need for different legislation, because if a person only comes to visit you and tells you that they want you to buy for them, of course, the way they word it and the way they would defend themselves in a court, would be pretty. We went and spoke to them. I'm a cattle buyer. I went and spoke to him and told him to buy cattle for this much and sell it to me for this much. I thought I was being pretty nice to him. So we need new legislation that, in this case, the bad guys are learning. Instead of extorting for money, instead of getting $25 per head or $50 per head, which is an extortion, they only let one person, or they become the buyer, and they're making $500 a head. They're buying them for $350 to $500 less than market value. The Mexican cow-calf producer is the one that's really hurt here. But they're making a lot of money. So some of these organizations, you have heard previous stories about Michoacan and the avocado market and the lemon or lime market.
Yes, sir.
We have got different things going on in different industries where somebody acting like a separate government is doing a taxation. That's the reason we went to Congress in Mexico. So we're telling Congress about this and telling them, you got to make different legislation that if somebody else, even no matter how nice they come, if they come and say they want to be the only buyer in a region, it should be illegal. Even if they don't show you a weapon, it should be illegal.
Yeah.
And we need to make it to where it's easier to sign a complaint. Because you go sign a complaint to the Mexican government today and say, and they'll ask you, they'll probably ask you, did they threaten you? No. Did they told you you couldn't buy no more? No, they told me I could buy, but I need to sell to them. The formal complaint makes it a little difficult the more intelligent the criminals become. So the more intelligent the criminals become, the more intelligent law-abiding citizens in Congress has to become. We can help. And on all my interviews, I've always mentioned that I don't want to be a complainer. I want to try and help the Mexican government get rid of this problem. You know, we hear a lot of ugly things about things happening down south of the border. I lived on the border my whole life. Mexico is the 12th economy in the world. We're on the footsteps. Mexico's on the footsteps of the Russian economy. And there's 4 or 5 economies right above. Mexico could go up to be an economy number 8 in the world if we didn't have a lot of this illegal activity going on.
Yeah.
It's a shame. And we, the USA, we want the neighbor who's wealthier. We want the neighbor who's better off. No matter where you live in the United States of America, you want your neighbor to be doing good. So we want our country neighbor to be doing good. We need to find a way to help them. We need to find a way to help, no matter how difficult the task of helping gets. Because if we have a neighbor who lives right next door to us, in any city in the USA, it doesn't matter how bad things get for our neighbor. A good neighbor is always going to try and help them.
So there's two things here. So now you're saying these bad guys, the way you put it, are purchasing cattle. Are they also selling the cattle? So that means that these, I guess the bad guys are now in the cattle market selling to America directly. And if that's the case, if they're selling it for a higher price, does that mean our beef costs are more expensive?
Okay, I like the question. I like where that went. Right now, they're not exporting livestock because screw them. We cannot export to the U.S. as we speak. However, yes, these bad guys are buying them and selling them. They're not in the market. They're in the extortion business. They're in the business of buying it for 65 cents and sell it for $1. But to sell it for $1, you have to be smart. You have to be smart in order to in the business. You have to be smart in the business. I'm not saying this is not smart people, but you have to have experience to sell something that's worth $1 for $1. So they can buy it for 65 cents and sell it for 95 cents or for 90 to other people who were already established in the business. I've had one of those buyers call me and try to sell me livestock like this. And I have gone on record looking to see where some of those bad guys, I find out who's buying the cattle, and then I go find out there's a system down there. Everything's traceability is really good on livestock. So I find out who this person who's buying the cattle for 65 cents on the dollar is, and then I go look at the system and find out who he's selling to. And I have called several Mexican purchasers, feedlots, and I have told the feed yard. The feed yard themselves have had other kind of extortion problems. Most of Mexico has lived through something of this nature. Nobody likes it when it's done to us. So I'd go and talk to a feedlot and say, hey, you're buying cattle from ABC. Did you know he's buying cattle for 50 cents on the dollar from the producer? And some feed yards, of course, have always told me no. I had feedlots told me, you know what? No, I am not buying from that producer. And then I have forwarded them documentation that says, look, the cattle went from ABC to you. So it is happening. So not only are we telling the government about it, but we're also helping bring them out on the clear to where the feed yard knows who he's buying from. I believe most feed yards are going to be honest and are going to say, I won't buy from that provider anymore. I won't buy from that person who's not purchasing his livestock correctly. Now, that's in Mexico. Now, the other subject that you just talked about, I have brought this up with Mexico more than once. In order to bring cattle to the U.S., every state in Mexico undergoes pretty good scrutiny by the United States Department of Agriculture, where any particular state, in this case Durango, they get looked into to see how their tuberculosis program is coming along, how they're advancing. And part of that program is that the state has to have control of movements. It cannot be it's nobody else. If it's somebody else, then the United States Department of Agriculture will take that state off of the list of authorized states to bring cattle to the U.S. So one thing would be for the United States Department of Agriculture to find out what's going on. And then we got terrorism laws. If some of those persons were to continue buying cattle in that manner and bringing cattle to the border, it would be our duty and our job to advise U.S. Customs. This person is purchasing livestock in Mexico through an illegal means. And he might even be tied into a organization who now the U.S. is calling a terrorist organization. Anybody known to be helping or abiding a terrorist organization will be prosecuted as if he was a terrorist as well.
Yeah.
So the activity that these people are doing, the darkness is what helps them, keeping it in hiding. What helps us is putting the light on it.
Yes, sir.
So we will do our best to put a light on it. Now, I will tell you, I have been in communication with not the Secretary of Agriculture or the Agriculture Commissioner from Durango, because I've told you already that he didn't respond. But the second in command of the agency has been in contact with me. And he has been in communication with the governor's office. The governor's office does not want this going on. And I got a call last Saturday. No, 2 Saturdays ago. I got a call 2 Saturdays ago from Durango telling me that this issue was going to be resolved. And then Wednesday last, I got a call from government officials from the state of Durango telling me, we have resolved the differences. We have gotten to the bottom of it. And the people purchasing livestock through intimidation will no longer be able to do so. We were advised about this on Wednesday, and we have been calling different people who put a formal complaint on our hotlines and tell them, hey, this is a fixed issue. You should be able to sell to anybody you want. 95% of the phone calls that we made to these people, they're afraid. They say, nah, you say that, Manny, but I'm afraid that if I go and try to sell my calves to somebody else, I might have repercussions. And we have also been calling a lot of different cattle purchasers that we know of from before who buy cattle legally. And we've been telling them, if you've got buyers or if you buy livestock in different places, restart your normal market. We have been given guarantees by the state government that this is going to happen. We have got phone numbers from a lot of different agencies that are telling me, Manny, if you hear of anybody doing something, you call us. We'll get to it.
Right.
So this is an ongoing thing. We think this is a resolved issue for livestock in the state of Durango only. It is still not a resolved issue in the state of Zacatecas. And earlier you asked if it was one organization, different organizations, or what it is. It's not easy to pinpoint. It is assumptions. We assume that Zacatecas, bordering states of Zacatecas, part of Aguascalientes and part of Jalisco are affected, and we assume it's the same organization doing it.
Interesting.
Assumption is that it was spilling over into Durango, and it was probably the same. However, I have information that it's happening also in a state, in Tamaulipas, for example, in one county only that I know of. And it's definitely not going to be the same organization. It's too far away. It's something totally different. So it seems like some of these organizations who do things illegally make their money in some illegal form, and then they migrate to more illegal ways. They migrate to take money off the top of somebody selling wood.
Yeah.
In the state of Zacatecas, it's gotten so bad that I don't know if we can relate to it in the USA, because this is not the way we do business in the USA. But in Mexico, if you're going to build a house, most people do it themselves. A lot of them do. and they buy a pickup truckload of sand. We mix that sand with cement bags, and we make houses. Well, the bad guys are charging $50 per pickup load of sand now. If you're going to go pick sand up at a creek and deliver it to some house in a town, it's $50. They will get into any and most businesses as long as nobody says something about it and says it loud enough. However, a lot of people who have said something about it have died. So you got to understand that it's not easy for people to go ahead and say something. There's a lot of dead people who have said something.
At this time, I would love to see if you wanted to make a call to action to the viewers. You can do this in Spanish and in English, so anyone watching could get it. But I'd love for this to hopefully be a platform for anyone else who's struggling with a similar situation, could at least use that number that you told, and as well as reach out to you for further assistance if they're getting extorted as well. Would you like to do that?
We have established a hotline. You called it a minute ago. I just said it was a phone number. We have established a hotline where we have such a number here in the USA. It's a Mexican number. We have it in the USA. And people WhatsApp us and tells us what is going on, where they're going extorted in different parts of Durango. We did this for the livestock industry and for the livestock industry in the state of Durango. However, if somebody gives us additional information on different things, we will forward it to different organizations that through this process we have come to know in Mexico. Establecimos un número de teléfono, el 618-111-0000, para que gente ponga sus quejas, sus denuncias, en caso de que sean extorsionados de alguna manera. Creemos que el problema en Durango está solucionado, pero cualquier persona que nos haga el favor de denunciar, la información es confidencial y continuaremos proporcionándole esa información nosotros a las autoridades correspondientes. So we will provide this information to authorities in Mexico. We can not guarantee any result whatsoever. However, what we can guarantee is we will never bring somebody's name up. I'm not going to tell them, an authority, I will tell them what the complaint was, what county, what town, but I will not tell them who the complainer was. That is a guarantee that we give people to go ahead and give us information on our hotline.
Mr. Núñez, I really appreciate this. And I can't tell you how brave it is for you to publicly make this message out to the world. As you know, this is it could be a very dangerous act that you take, but it has nothing but integrity behind it. And I really appreciate you stepping forward and telling us the story, letting us know what's happening. This is something that's very different. We haven't heard something similar to this with your expertise and your closeness to the subject come on to our show. And so we really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for being as brave as you are to tell the story.
Thank you very much, Vince.
Thank you for listening to Borderland Narcosis, an Ironclad original presented by Phorm. Go get your Phorm supplements at firstphorm.com/Borderland. Till next time.